Right YouTube, Shadow King Nazru, and sorry I'm about a week or so late, but I'm finally ready to do my review. Well, not so much a review, my rant on the Granolah arc of the Dragon Ball Super manga. Now, unless you're new here or been hiding under a rock, you'll likely know that I despise the Dragon Ball Super manga, what it's done to these characters, what it's done to the lore, um, the lackluster and highly overrated fights, the art style not being on par with what Akira Toriyama has put in the past. And before anyone says anything, no, Akira Toriyama is not the main person doing the art style or the writing. That is his apprentice, Toyotaro, who, before doing this, most people know would be the guy behind the Dragon Ball AF manga, which was also not that great, but that was just a fanfic manga. Um, I said before I do not like Toyotaro as a writer. His art style is not that great. Um, Toriyama even has to behind his back and not go behind his back, but check up on him and correct some of the mistakes he does on the character models. So there's so much for all the people who say that that Toyotaro is a better artist than the Toei staff on the Dragon Ball Super anime. But you came in here and we talked about the manga, about the Granolah arc. Now, I have several issues with the whole Granolah arc thing. Is the revenge story? It's uh, for the most part rather generic. We have Granolah, who uh, whose people had this tragedy with the Saiyans because I believe they invaded their people, and he wants revenge on them. He and this also has a little bit of a closer tie between Goku and Vegeta. That we'll get to that later in a bit. Uh, and unless you get, and we've already seen the revenge thing done so many times before, and it's got monotonous. I mean, especially in Dragon Ball, we just had a revenge story with Dragon Ball Super Broly. Though that one was one of the times it was handled well. Um, Unless you're things like that, or like God of War, or you got something other that can handle it well, use the table, it's gonna fall in the lettering was just tried and monotonous and redundant, like The Last of Us 2. Uh, yeah, I didn't really care for that. I also did not care for apparently uh, he was able to have this. He has this other Mexican companion who has this other Dragon Ball set of Dragon Balls that only require two to summon the magic dragon, and he's able to the universe. Now, I probably made this back in a previous video that I said I thought that was a stupid idea because it just undermines the very concept of Dragon Ball that anyone can get strong just by putting in the effort to do so, even surpassing people who are prodigies or even people who are godlike themselves. And just simply wishing to be the strongest just pretty much destroys the whole concept of Dragon Ball. It would have honestly been better if Granolah was already a trained martial artist instead of just being this random person who has a vendetta against the Saiyans, or if he had his potential unlocked and he had a high amount of potential, say like something like akin to Gohan or something. But as is, it's just asinine. And then they did it again with the actual villain. So that's also a bit of a complaint because this story switches villains or antagonists, as it were. First, we thought it was Granolah, and then we later find out no, it's the Heaters, specifically this character called Gas. And then they bring in Frieza at the last minute, and we'll get into that later in a bit. Uh, I also did not like how Toyotaro had to kind of retcon how Ultra Instinct works. Um, he basically had to nerf Ultra Instinct because, as expected, he allowed Goku to go into the mastered Ultra Instinct state at will during the Moro arc, which was also a terrible story. But the problem is that made Goku too powerful, so he had to, like again, what he did was Super Saiyan got Super Saiyan. He has in all these arbitrary disadvantages to the form, just to have the story be balanced out for whatever he needs. So he had things like, oh, Goku, your Ultra Instinct isn't fully mastered, despite us calling it Ultra Instinct. And then later, when he fights Granolah, Granolah says that, oh, over time your Ultra Instinct becomes less accurate, uh, which is not only a retcon, but is a plot hole because Whis, during the Tournament of Power or during the Moro arc, was saying that Goku was actually getting more precise and proficient with Ultra Instinct the more times he used it. But now they're saying that it debilitates. I mean, it actually decreases in proficiency over time. And that's what really annoys me about Toyotaro is that when the characters get too powerful, he'll make some arbitrary rules just to debilitate the characters, and it really just shows that he's a terrible writer. The, See, what he should have done was just like have these characters tap. I mean, with Ultra Instinct, he should have just only had Goku be able to go into Ultra Instinct Omen at will, and say that Ultra Instinct, the true Ultra Instinct, Master Ultra Instinct, should have been he should have been able to go into that form at the end of the story of the Moro arc or whatever. Even though I don't want that arc, want to acknowledge that arc of the Dragon Ball Super manga in general, but for the sake of argument, he should have just let him be able to go into that form, but he can't access sorry, but he can't access that power at will. It's still in a circumstantial situation. So he kind of has to have the right motivations, right circumstances in to get in that state, and that's how he defeats Moro. And then his goal is to actually fully master Ultra Instinct. That's what he should be saved for, like either near at the penultimate Dragon Ball arc or the final Dragon Ball arc. So I did not like how they nerfed Ultra Instinct just to have some artificial tension and uh, uh, balance between the protagonist and the antagonist. Um, then we have Vegeta getting Ultra Ego. I've said multiple times why I thought that was a stupid. Why I think that's a stupid form. I don't like the design. I think the purple hair with the uh, eyebrowless thing, it just makes it look stupid. But the trade off is that I get a good reminder that Vegeta failed to get Super Saiyan 3. I'm sure he doesn't care about getting it anymore because of the drawbacks, but it's still something I can mock him over. Uh, and the very concept of it, where it's you're just being a reckless fighter and you're relying on destruction and uh, allowing yourself to be injured just to power yourself up. That I mean, that's very. I mean, you might think that sounds cool on paper. That you say the more your opponent hurts you, the stronger you get. I mean, but when you really think about it, that's really really stupid. For one thing, that's gonna expect you to have a very high pain threshold. Now, we've seen Vegeta take some punishment, but just being that careless with yourself is a bad idea. Eventually, you're gonna have to learn to defend yourself properly instead of just letting yourself get hit all the time. And honestly, even if we did go with this concept, I don't think it should have been done with Vegeta. If anything, it would have probably been with Broly, because Broly is an actual genuine tank, and he can. We know he can take a lot of punishment, and when he's in his full power Super Saiyan state, he's not all that caring about the collateral damage. Uh, there was also that tidbit where Vegeta was prepared to destroy the planet just to get defeat Granolah, which seems very antithetical to Vegeta's character development, where he starts to care more about people around him. Granted, he's still an antisocial jerk, but I mean, this is still a bit of character regression. So I didn't like that fight. And for all that trouble that Vegeta went through just to get this form to differentiate himself from Goku, because he doesn't have the right mentality for Ultra Instinct. So he trained with Beerus to get this. So that's a whole nother issue with it. Is that Beerus apparently has access to this power that's supposed to be rivaling Ultra Instinct, yet they've been constantly saying in the previous arcs that the goal of the gods of destruction and anyone who trains under the gods and the angels is to obtain Ultra Instinct. This is the peak of the power that they offer and what they're striving for. Even Beerus was striving for Ultra Instinct. He hasn't perfected it, but at least he can obtain some access to it because he's been training for like countless years for it. But no, apparently he has this other power, Ultra Ego, that it can rival it, and that just shows how bad writing it is. Um, the heaters were pretty underdeveloped. They were instead of being relying on brute force and power to get what they want, they use more of intelligence. They use more intelligence and broker of information and blackmail, I believe, to meet their own ends. And they have this bit of a rivalry towards Frieza. It wasn't really all that developed, so I wasn't exactly thrilled with that. Then they tried to the shoe in Bardock saved. Uh, I believe they said Bardock saved Granola's parents or whatever when he and his fellow Saiyans invaded his planet. So, um, I mean, points for trying to add a little bit more nuance to to Bardock and the same race in general. But then they kind of, but I feel it was a little forced. And then they also try to say that, oh, the reason why Goku and Vegeta were having a hard time beating Gas was because they didn't have that drive for victory or anything. They're like, are you kidding me? That they've had multiple times where they showed they were determined to win. Goku and Vegeta giving everything they had to defeat the likes of Raditz, Vegeta, Frieza, Cell, Boo, you name it. They put their lives on the line, literally, and even sacrificed it just to obtain victory. They have enough motivation. You don't have to do this. Oh, we need the same drive to do it. And that goes back to the Ultra Instinct thing, where they try to retcon how it works. And he said, oh, Whis saying, oh, Goku, you need to make Ultra Instinct your own. And and then he says his key is to, oh, I'm going to tap into my emotions and anger and drive to win into my version of Ultra Instinct. Because the Ultra Instinct that's supposed to be what it's supposed to be is too tranquil and calm, and it doesn't really suit me. That is so antithetical to Ultra Instinct because the whole point of it was that you were supposed to remain serene and calm, and not be distracted by unnecessary emotions and thoughts to make Ultra Instinct effective. And now they're just undoing that though, undoing the whole concept. It might as well just be another version of Super Saiyan. You might as well call it Super Saiyan Silver or Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan God Silver, whatever. Because it's starting to feel less like a unique uh, transformation or state of being with its own rules and concepts that it has to be adhered to actually develop a person to be a better fighter. No, no, it's not this. Then we got the whole Black Frieza thing. Now, I've already explained before, I don't like. I felt that Frieza has long since overstayed his welcome. They should have gotten rid of him after the Tournament of Power, just let him stay in hell. But then they brought him back, uh, brought the cannon Broly, which was fine, whatever, but they really should have killed Frieza off. Now, Frieza has a black form, and he was able to surpass Gas and Granolah, despite the fact that they both wished to be the strongest in the universe, because apparently he found that universe and was able to train for 10 years, even though that didn't pass that long. So because it focuses on the same rules as the Room of Spirit or Time, or the Hyperbolic Time Chamber for you English dub fans, and yeah, he's able to one shot Gas despite the uh, without going transforming. Granted that Gas was in a weakened, emaciated state, but what have you, and he transformed into Black Frieza and literally one shots stomach punches Goku and Vegeta and their Ultra Instinct and Ultra Egos power form. Yeah, yeah. What a so that's annoying. And the fact that Frieza just pops out of left field. Yes, yes, they mentioned that they had a bit of a rivalry towards Frieza, but the fact that Frieza just came out of nowhere with no a little to no build up to him arriving into the story is very bad. Yeah, those were pretty much all my reasons. There's probably more, but I don't really have time to go into all the details of why I really hate this arc. And just another example why I just refuse to accept the Dragon Ball Super manga. Just acknowledge it as apocryphal garbage. But yeah, the pacing's bad. The writing is horrendous and all over the place. The characters are being regressed and going into terrible directions. The lore is being torn apart. It's a catastrophe. So no, Toyotaro is not getting better. He's actually getting a lot worse. And yeah, I also heard that he did an edit he did a semi prequel comic about Goten and Trunks adopting the Great Saiyaman gimmick and acting like superheroes, which was supposed to be a prequel to Dragon Ball Superhero and even inspired, I don't know, Dr. Hito's design for Gamma 1 and Gamma 2. I think that's what they said. I think that's what was said, which wouldn't kind of make sense because Hito already had a superhero fascination uh, even back when he was just a kid. But and then he also had an adaptation of the Dragon Ball Superheroes, a story which, yeah, I didn't bother reading that because I was already, like I said, I don't like the manga and I've already checked out. And from what I've been hearing, there's not a lot of significant differences between the manga and the movie. So I'm not even going to bother reviewing it. So all in all, this arc was a mess, and it's just a further example. Just throw away the Dragon Ball Super manga and just completely disregard, just focus on the anime. Or, but then again, we're having Dragon Ball Daima continue the story, even though we're not entirely sure whether it takes place before Super starts or during Super or after Super and after the end of Z. But all I know is that it's got to be a lot better than whatever Toyotaro is spewing out. So next video, I'm going to be giving my thoughts on Castlevania Nocturne. Spoiler alert, I didn't like that either.